The Super Mario Bros. 2 movie is still about a year and a half away, releasing April 3rd of 2026. That's hoping there's no delays in the movie, which happens a lot with films. But yeah, it's about a year and a half away, which means we still have a long time until we start getting information for Nintendo. I'd expect something around middle or even end of next year to start popping up, which is pretty exciting though, because we are getting closer and closer to this movie. And as we know very little about the movie, we actually got some new information from one of the cast members. And this is coming from the voice of Toad himself, Keegan-Michael Key, who actually gives us some hints and some information as to what we can expect a little bit from that second movie, and some of this is kind of exciting depending on how you look at it. In a recent interview with Men's Journal, Keegan-Michael Key actually talked about some of the aspects of the Mario movie sequel, and Go Nintendo actually gave us some highlights from that interview and the big takeaways, stating the movie is a little broader in scope. Where it takes place is very intriguing lore and the Mario world. The film will have some really fantastic Easter eggs. The sequel has really widened out the universe. You'll see some new characters and old favorites. There will be some really deep cuts for Mario fans. Okay, so let's peel this back layer by layer and kind of discuss what this could actually mean for this second movie. Stating that the movie is broader in scope could mean a lot of things. It can mean that there's bigger and more wider areas and more important characters, or it could be more of a story thing. And this is something that we've actually heard from some of the cast members, that there could be a better story this time around. We was hearing things like this from Keegan a couple months ago, and even from Jack Black, I believe, stating that the story was going to be more of a focus and that they know that that was the main complaint with the first movie. So maybe we'll be getting more of a story this time around, because that was like the only thing people were complaining about. Personally, I didn't care. I got to see my favorite character of all time on the big screen, so story or not, it was just a dream come true for me. But I completely understand for people that really just want to dive themselves into a good Mario story. It's hard though, considering the fact that none of the games really have a deep story unless you dive into the RPGs, so maybe they'll do that. I highly doubt it, but you never know with Nintendo. Now, Keegan claims that where it takes place is very important lore for the Mario franchise, which is strange. Apparently, this isn't going to be the Mushroom Kingdom, because why would he be hyping up the Mushroom Kingdom once again? It's got to be something that's completely different, and my mind's taking me to a couple places that really just make sense, and the only things that we've really seen from the games that make sense. For one, I thought maybe Isle Delfino. Now, is that really super important? Mario Sunshine from the GameCube? I mean, to a lot of us, to me, yeah, because I love that game. Still my favorite Mario game. But I don't think that's going to be a really big, important location for a lot of other people. I don't know, this would be a great way for them to add more characters and for them to kind of build more of the world together, showing like a neighboring kingdom. Or maybe they do something like the Flower Kingdom from Super Mario Bros. Wonder. But I could see them going to Isle Delfino for some type of vacation or something to relax all together, and then obviously chaos breaks out. That's where they introduced Bowser Jr. and the Nokis, the Piantas, maybe Egad can get a reference in there. There's a lot of characters that could make their debut there, and maybe just throw in more. They could just throw in Daisy for the heck of it and some other characters as well. But I feel like you can actually build a pretty deep story from this, where Mario actually gets in trouble and goes to prison and has to work his way out of there and find out what's going on. I will say, obviously, us Mario fans will know exactly what's going on and who the culprit is, and knowing it's Bowser Jr., but a lot of people that aren't huge Mario fans won't have a clue what's going on, and it will be a pretty surprising reveal for them to see a mini Bowser for the first time. Another obvious one would be Sarasaland, which has a lot of different aspects to its kingdom. It has a little oriental style area, a whole desert, and multiple other locations that could work pretty cool, giving its own version of the Mushroom Kingdom in a way. And you could have its own ruler being Daisy, who maybe has their own guard as well, maybe full of Shy Guys, or maybe full of ninjas, or other characters that, like you could see in this artwork, like Pokies and stuff, could be pretty cool. I mean, to be honest with you though, I don't see this as something that's huge in the Mario universe. In fact, it was probably one of the smallest areas, and we've never seen it return again. It was on a Game Boy game all the way back then, so like I don't really see how this would ever be a humongous thing in the Mario lore and universe, but it is definitely a location that people would want to see return, and I honestly think it's a perfect way to introduce Daisy as a neighboring kingdom and a neighboring princess. Now you could stretch it even more if you went into the RPGs like the Bean Bean Kingdom from Superstar Saga or the Pillow Kingdom from Mario & Luigi Dream Team, so it's really hard to say what they're going to pull from, but the only other one that makes the most sense is something related to Mario Galaxy. Having the location be space and tons of different planets and wacky worlds to visit, with Rosalina being included in the cast as well, would make so much sense. I mean, the Lumas are in, or at least a Luma is in the first movie, so why not throw in Mario Galaxy stuff into this next movie? I feel like it'd be a huge jump though. I feel like that's something that they might want to save for a third or even fourth movie, because it's one of the most massive Mario games that people remember the most, because there's 2 of them after all. So I feel like this is something that definitely would add a lot more to the lore too, showing more galaxies and more planets full of enemies and creatures of all different shapes and sizes. It could be pretty insane. The next point talks about how the movie is going to have some pretty fantastic Easter eggs, and this is something that we can expect. I mean, the first film was filled to the brim with Easter eggs. I mean, I had to comb through the movie multiple times to find absolutely everything, and I still feel like I missed a lot of things. There were billboards that referenced old NES and SNES games and characters. There were so many little things that referenced things from the Wii days, like Mii's, and little musical Easter eggs here and there. So much love poured out into that first movie, but I'm hoping that the second movie pulls from more things than maybe just Mario, because the first movie did as well. We had some hints and references to Zelda or Star Fox and Ice Climbers and other things like that. Even Punch-Out, a whole cafe or pizza place from Punch-Out. So that would be pretty cool if they kind of dug a little bit deeper, maybe even pulled from the RPG games more, maybe having little plushies or characters, like a little plushie of Geno sitting somewhere, or maybe a Hoo-Hoo civilian from Superstar Saga's Bean Bean Kingdom. There's so many that they could actually pull from, and I would love to just see little things that I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's a character from Mario Pinball Land. Yeah, that doesn't make sense, but you know what I'm talking about. The fourth point talks about how the sequel will widen out the universe, and we kind of already talked about that, and kind of talked about the different areas and stuff that they could show, but it also goes to the fact that we're going to be seeing a lot of new characters as well. That's mentioned in the fifth point. Now it says we'll be getting new characters and old favorites, and I don't know if he's referring to the first movie as old characters making a return, or is he talking about just from the games? Are they going to be new characters and old characters, like original characters for the movie? It's hard to say, but either way, we're getting some new characters, which is pretty exciting. And I know a lot of people have a long, exhaustive list of characters that they want to see in this movie, including Wario, Waluigi, Daisy, Rosalina. There's so many more that they can go with, and it's just like, it's an endless list, and they've already kind of gave us some references to like King Boo and King Bob-omb, but there's even more that we can do with the enemies or even bosses, like even Petey Piranha making a debut here. Bowser Jr. and the Koopalings is something that a lot of people want to see, and I feel like those probably make the most sense. It's probably definitely time for the Koopalings. I feel like that's a great sequel movie, just having Bowser Jr. and all those Koopa kids just work with him. Then that final bullet point saying that there's going to be some really deep cuts for Mario fans, and we'll see how deep they go, because for the first movie, there was a couple things that could reference back to classic Mario games, but nothing that was necessarily, in my opinion, a deep cut. So we'll actually see if they really give us some deep cuts. Like, I'm talking, if there's going to be a deep cut, they need to dive deep into like a spin-off game, like an RPG or something along those lines. Like a Mario & Luigi, Paper Mario, even Mario RPG deep cut. Like, I'm talking, they're walking into a room and they see a little stuffed animal hanging out of a toy box, and it's just like the arm of Geno. I want to see something along those lines of deep cuts. So hopefully Nintendo can pull from some of these games, because I feel like that is the only thing that makes sense when you think of deep cut, unless there's something else that I'm not thinking of. But yeah, something that's non-mainline. I'm really hoping the RPGs get some references here in this second movie. But overall, I'm super excited to see what they're cooking with this second movie. I feel like for the first one, we could kind of predict that it was going to be a basic Mushroom Kingdom story, but the second one could be anything. I really don't know where they're going to go here, what characters they're going to add, and what their story is going to be like. You know, this is probably not going to be a simple get the Power Star, save the princess type of story like the first one was. So I'm really intrigued, but let me know in the comments down below what you want to see from this second Mario movie and what you're expecting from the characters or from the world building or even from the story. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. A lot of you watching this video right now are still not yet subscribed, so stop what you're doing, leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Nintendo, and of course that Mario movie too as well. But like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.